When we talk about the menstrual cycle, most of us just think about one thing, right? But it's actually so much bigger than that. It's this incredibly complex, beautifully timed biological process. So let's dive right in and unpack it.
So, what's really going on with this 28-day cycle? I mean, it's this fundamental rhythm that happens over and over again. And when you think about it, it's a question that gets right to the heart of how life itself is created. Well, here's the cool part. It's not just one story. It's actually two different stories unfolding at the exact same time. They're happening in two different places in the body, but they're completely interconnected, working in like perfect harmony. So, on one side of the coin, you've got the ovarian cycle. Its whole job? Get an egg mature and release it. And then, on the other side, you have the uterine cycle. And its job is all about preparing a nice, cozy home for that egg, just in case it gets fertilized. So yeah, two locations, two different goals, but they're all part of one big master plan. All right, let's kick things off with story number one, the ovary's journey. This is all about how an egg gets ready for its big moment, its starring role, you could say. Now, you might think the ovary is running the show here, but nope. The one calling the shots is actually the brain. After puberty, this tiny little gland called the anterior pituitary starts sending out two crucial hormones, follicle-stimulating hormone, or FSH, and luteinizing hormone, LH. You can think of them as the directors of this whole ovarian story. And of course, every story has to start somewhere. For us, that starting point is something called the primordial follicle. It's super simple, really. It's just a single oocyte, that's the fancy name for an immature egg cell, wrapped up in one single layer of cells. And get this, they've been sitting there totally dormant since childhood, just waiting for the signal to start their journey. And here it is, a close-up look. It's pretty amazing to think that from this humble little beginning, something truly remarkable is about to grow. Okay, so once FSH and LH give the green light, the growth kicks off. Those follicle cells start multiplying like crazy, building up more and more layers around the oocyte. At this point, we call it a primary follicle. And you could say the race has officially begun. So as our follicle keeps getting bigger, a really important change starts to happen. See that little fluid-filled space forming? That's called the antrum. In the moment that appears, our follicle has officially leveled up to a secondary follicle. And then, finally, that antrum just keeps expanding until the follicle is totally mature. This is it, the Graafian follicle. It's so big now that it's literally bulging out from the surface of the ovary. It's primed and ready for the main event. But here's a really crucial point. Even though a bunch of follicles start this race every month, we're talking like 5 to 11 of them, it's a super intense competition. As our source material points out, only one, just one, typically makes it all the way to the finish line. All the others, they just stop growing and degenerate. It's basically survival of the fittest, but on a microscopic scale. So how does our winning follicle know it's time to release the egg? Well, it needs a huge, unmistakable signal. And that signal comes in the form of a massive surge of luteinizing hormone, LH. We're talking a dramatic increase, anywhere from 6 to even 16 times its normal level. That's a huge spike. And you can see it so clearly on this graph. Look at that, right around the middle of the cycle. Boom, there's that incredible spike in LH. There's a smaller one for FSH too. This LH surge is the final, non-negotiable trigger. It's the signal that tells that mature follicle, okay, it's go time. Rupture and release the egg. And that right there brings us to the main event, ovulation. This is the moment we've been building up to. The egg is ejected from the follicle, and it's now ready for its potential journey toward fertilization. Honestly, this is the whole point of story number one. But wait, what about the empty follicle that's left behind? Does it just disappear? Nope. It actually collapses on itself and transforms into a brand new structure called the corpus luteum. And this thing is a temporary hormone-producing powerhouse. It starts cranking out progesterone and estrogen and hangs around for about 10 days, basically waiting to see if a pregnancy happens. Okay, so remember all that drama we just saw unfolding in the ovary? Well, all those hormones it was making, the estrogen and progesterone, they weren't just for show. They were sending messages to another part of the body. And that brings us perfectly to story number two, the uterus, and how it gets ready to be a potential home. So, the story of the uterus really plays out in 3 acts. First up, you have the menstrual phase. That's when the old lining is shed. Next comes the proliferative phase, where it rebuilds itself. And finally, the secretory phase, where it gets everything perfectly ready for an embryo to implant. And right here is where our two stories beautifully connect. During that proliferative phase, from about day 6 to 14, the uterine lining is rebuilding. Why? Well, it's because that growing follicle back in the ovary is just pumping out estrogen. And that estrogen is the direct signal telling the uterus, hey, time to regrow. Then, after ovulation, during the secretory phase, we see the second big connection. Remember the corpus luteum, the thing made from the old follicle? Well, now it's producing a ton of progesterone, and that hormone is what tells the uterine lining to get even thicker, up to 5 or 6 millimeters, and to develop these special spiral arteries. The whole point is to create this lush, nutrient-rich bed, just the perfect environment for a fertilized egg to implant. Okay, so we've got our two stories. We have the story of the ovary and the story of the uterus. Now it's time for the grand finale. Let's put them both together and see how this whole master plan really works. All right, this chart right here, this is the key to understanding everything. It lays it all out. At the top, you've got the hormones from the brain. Below that, what's happening in the ovary. Then the hormones the ovary itself is making. And at the very bottom, what's happening in the uterus. This is it, the complete, synchronized dance, all on one page. So let's just trace the first half of the cycle, the first 14 days. Watch this. Up here, as the follicle in the ovary is growing, it's making more and more estrogen. See that line go up? Now look down here. That rising estrogen is the direct cause of the uterine lining building itself back up in the proliferative phase. It's a perfect cause and effect relationship. One directly causes the other. Okay, now let's look at the second half. After ovulation, the corpus luteum forms in the ovary and boom, it starts pumping out progesterone. And what's the result? Well, down here, you see the uterine lining shifts into that thick, rich, secretory phase. So again, what's happening in the ovary is directly telling the uterus what to do to get ready for a potential pregnancy. It's amazing.
So you see, it's not one single story at all. It's two stories, told in perfect sync, all directed by this amazing cascade of hormones. It's a tale of preparation and readiness that just repeats itself month after month. And when you see an intricate dance like this, a perfect biological rhythm, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other hidden clocks are quietly ticking away, governing the rhythms of our lives?